August 2025 marks a pivotal moment in America's ongoing debate over the death penalty. 3 men are scheduled to face execution in Florida this month, although one was stayed and moved to a later, undisclosed date. This video uncovers the stories behind these cases, the lives lost, the legal battles, and the final steps toward the execution chamber. Join us as we explore these tragic events. If you find this content gripping, please hit that subscribe button and ring the bell for more true crime and justice stories. Since the U.S. Supreme Court reinstated the death penalty in 1976, over 1,600 executions have taken place. Florida, a state known for its aggressive use of capital punishment, relies on lethal injection, though debates over its protocols persist. In August 2025, 2 executions are set to take place, each tied to crimes that shook their communities. Let's begin with the first case. Case 1. Kayle Barrington Bates. Kayle Barrington Bates, age 67, is scheduled to be executed on August 19, 2025, at Florida's Union Correctional Institution. After spending 42 years on death row, his crime, committed in 1982, was a brutal robbery and murder that ended the life of a young mother and stunned the small town of Panama City. On June 14, 1982, in Panama City, Florida, 30-year-old Janet White was wrapping up her day at a local insurance office. Janet, a devoted mother of 2, was known for her kindness and tireless work ethic. She had stayed late to finish paperwork, eager to get home to her children for a promised movie night. Around 6 p.m., Kayle Bates, then 24, walked into the office, posing as a customer seeking insurance quotes. But his intentions were far darker. Bates, a stranger to Janet, quickly dropped the pretense. He pulled a knife from his pocket and demanded money from the office safe. When Janet hesitated, he grabbed her arm, dragging her to back. Court records reveal he attempted to sexually assault her, but Janet fought back. Enraged, Bates stabbed her repeatedly in the chest and neck, leaving her lifeless on the floor. He rummaged through the safe, stealing $200 in Janet's purse, then fled into the night. The next morning, a co-worker found Janet's body, sparking panic in the quiet community. Janet White was a beloved figure in Panama City, volunteering at her church and coaching her daughter's soccer team. Her husband and 2 young children were devastated, left to grapple with a loss that became a rallying cry for justice. In Bay County, the randomness of the attack, a woman killed at her workplace, sent shockwaves through the town. After brutally beating, attempting to rape, stabbing, and strangling Janet White in the woods behind the State Farm Insurance office, Bates left her body in the wooded area and fled the scene. He attempted to make a quick getaway but became disoriented, which hindered his escape. He had ripped Janet's diamond wedding ring from her finger, causing serious injury, and kept it in his pocket, possibly intending to sell or dispose of it later. Court records note he made efforts to conceal the ring when apprehended, indicating an awareness of its incriminating nature. Despite his attempt to flee, Bates was found near the crime scene approximately 20 minutes after the attack began. He was walking through a clearing, covered in Janet's blood, with her ring in his pocket. His failure to leave the area immediately suggests either confusion or a miscalculation of police response time. After the murder, Bates admitted to his wife that he had killed a woman, according to court record. He also made statements to law enforcement, admitting to taking Janet to the woods and engaging in one-sided sexual conduct, though he denied the murder itself. These admissions, while partial, helped to link him to the crime. Bates was arrested on June 16, 1982, after a tip led police to his apartment, where they found Janet's purse and blood-stained clothes. Forensic evidence, including fingerprints on the knife and blood matching Janet's type, tied him to the crime. Bates confessed to the robbery but claimed the murder was an impulse, a defense that crumbled under scrutiny. In 1983, Bates was tried for first-degree murder, kidnapping, armed robbery, and attempted sexual battery. Prosecutors argued the crime was premeditated, pointing to Bates's choice of an isolated target and his use of a weapon. The defense cited his drug use as a mitigating factor, but the jury convicted him on all counts. He was sentenced to death, with the judge citing the crime's brutality. Over 4 decades, Bates's appeals, claiming ineffective counsel and challenging Florida's death penalty laws, were denied. Kayle Barrington Bates is set to be executed on August 19, 2025, at 6 p.m. by lethal injection at Union Correctional Institution in Rayford, Florida. The state uses a 3-drug protocol: etomidate to sedate, a paralytic, and potassium chloride to stop the heart. No final meal request or last words have been shared publicly, as is standard until the execution date. If carried out, this will be Florida's 10th execution of 2025, part of a record-breaking year under Governor Ron DeSantis. Case 2, Curtis Lee Windom. Curtis Lee Windom, aged 59, is scheduled to be executed on August 28, 2025, at Florida State Prison, after spending 32 years on death row. On February 7, 1992, in Winter Garden, Florida, a series of violent acts by 26-year-old Curtis Lee Windom left 3 people dead and 1 seriously injured. The events unfolded over a single day, driven by personal disputes and impulsive decisions. Curtis Windom started his day angry. He believed 23-year-old Johnny Lee, a local mechanic and father, owed him. That morning, Windom heard Johnny was celebrating a $114 win outside a dog track in Winter Garden. Johnny, known for his love of music and charismatic personality, was standing with friends, unaware of the danger. Windom saw an opportunity to confront Johnny about the death. Instead of talking, he made a deliberate choice. He drove to a store, bought a .38 caliber revolver and ammunition, and headed straight for the dog track. His intention was clear: to settle the score with Johnny, not with words but with violence. Around mid-morning, Windom arrived at the dog track. He spotted Johnny standing outside, still celebrating his small lottery win. Without warning, Windom pulled up in his car, aimed his new revolver, and fired 2 shots into Johnny's back. As Johnny fell to the ground, Windom got out of the car, walked closer, and fired 2 more shots at close range. Johnny died on the spot. Windom's actions were quick and calculated, driven by his anger over the alleged debt. He didn't stop to talk or hesitate. He intended to. After killing Johnny, Windom didn't pause. He drove to the apartment of his on-again, off-again girlfriend and the mother of his daughter, 27-year-old Valerie Davis. Valerie, a single mother and retail worker, was at home with their young daughter, planning to visit her mother later that day. Windom's relationship with Valerie had been rocky, and it's likely he was upset with her, though the exact reason remains unclear. Whatever his motive, whether anger, jealousy, or something else, Windom went to her apartment with the same revolver, intending to harm her. He arrived at Valerie's apartment and entered quickly. Within seconds, he raised his gun and shot Valerie in the chest. The single bullet killed her instantly, leaving her daughter without a mother. Windom's actions were swift and brutal, suggesting he had no intention of talking or resolving any conflict. He wanted to end Valerie's life and acted without hesitation before fleeing the scene. As Windom left Valerie's apartment, he ran into 25-year-old Kenneth Williams, a friend on the street nearby. It's unclear why Windom turned on Kenneth. Perhaps he saw him as a witness, or simply acted out of rage. Without warning, Windom pulled out his revolver and shot Kenneth. The bullet struck Kenneth, seriously injuring him, but he survived. Windom's intent here seemed to be to eliminate anyone in his path, as he continued his rampage. News of Valerie's death spread quickly. Valerie's mother, 50-year-old Mary Lubin, a nurse and active church volunteer, was at work when she heard the devastating news. Heartbroken and desperate to get to her daughter's home, Mary left her job and drove toward the apartment. As she stopped at a stop sign in Winter Garden, Windom approached her car. It's possible he recognized Mary and feared she might confront him about Valerie's death. He said something to her, exactly what is unknown, then raised his gun and fired 2 shots. Mary died at the scene. Windom's actions suggest he intended to silence Mary, ensuring no one could challenge or pursue him. In a single day, Curtis Windom's choices left 3 people dead and 1 fighting for his life. His actions began with a personal grudge against Johnny Lee. He did not immediately leave the area, indicating confidence or recklessness in evading law enforcement. That evening, Windom's brother and 2 others confronted him behind the bar. Aware of his actions and attempting to disarm him, Windom resisted, still carrying the murder weapon, which led to a struggle. This altercation drew attention and prompted someone to alert the police, leading to his arrest on February 8, 1992. Police found the .38 caliber revolver, with ballistics matching the bullets from all 3 murder scenes. Blood on Windom's clothing and witness testimonies, including Kenneth Williams' account, cemented his guilt. Windom claimed the shootings were impulsive, driven by disputes, but prosecutors argued they were premeditated, citing his purchase of the gun and targeted attack. In August 1992, Windom was convicted of 3 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of attempted first-degree murder. On November 10, 1992, he was sentenced to death, with the judge citing the heinous, atrocious, and cruel nature of the killing. Over 3 decades, Windom's appeals focused on his mental health, alleging speech and learning disorders, and claims of incompetent legal representation. Despite a recent competency hearing, all appeals have been denied, and no active stays remain as of August. Curtis Lee Windom is scheduled for execution on August 28, 2025 at 6:00 p.m. by lethal injection at Florida State Prison in Stark, Florida. The state's three-drug protocol etemidate, a paralytic, and potassium chloride will be used. No final meal request or last words have been publicly disclosed, as is typical, until the execution day. If carried out, this will be Florida's 11th execution of 2025. Windom's case has sparked a rare controversy. His daughter, Curtisha Windom, and some relatives of the victims have publicly forgiven him and urged Governor DeSantis to grant clemency, arguing that the execution would reopen old wounds. Curtisha, who lost her mother and grandmother, says killing him won't bring them back. Yet, Valerie's sister, Kemeny Hunter, demands justice, calling Windom a monster who must face the consequences. This family divide, alongside debates over Florida's rushed clemency process, has drawn national attention. What are your own thoughts as we dive into the last case? Case 3, David Lee Roberts. David Lee Roberts, aged 59, was scheduled to be executed on August 21, 2025, at Alabama's Holman Correctional Facility, having spent 31 years on death row. His crime, committed in 1992, was a cold-blooded murder that left a young woman dead and a small town shaken. However, a last-minute stay of execution has put his fate in limbo. On the night of October 20, 1992, in Marion County, Alabama, 24-year-old Enatra Jones was asleep on the couch in the home she shared with her boyfriend. Enatra, a nurse's aide, was known for her gentle demeanor and dedication to caring for others. She had spent the day working a double shift at a local hospital, planning to rest before visiting her parents the next morning. Roberts, then 26, was a friend of Enatra's boyfriend and had been staying at their home for a few days. He was down on his luck, struggling with money problems and drinking heavily to cope. Enatra and her boyfriend had welcomed him, offering a place to stay while he got back on his feet. They trusted him, unaware of the resentment building inside him. Roberts felt humiliated by his situation, living off their kindness while battling his own failures. His drinking made him moody and unpredictable, and over the days, small arguments with Enatra's boyfriend hinted at his growing frustration. On the night of the crime, around 10 p.m., Roberts was drinking alone in the living room. The alcohol fueled his anger and jealousy. He saw Enatra and her boyfriend's stable life, their home, their plans, and felt it mocked his own struggles. By 11 p.m., his thoughts turned dark. He began to resent Enatra's kindness, seeing it as pity. In his drunken state, he convinced himself that taking what they had, money, possessions, would give him a fresh start. But he knew stealing alone wouldn't be enough. He feared Enatra or her boyfriend would report him, and his shame would be exposed. His intentions solidified. He would steal from the house, eliminate any witnesses, and cover his tracks to escape consequences. Enatra, asleep in her bedroom, became his target. Her boyfriend was out that night, working a late shift, leaving her vulnerable. Around midnight, Roberts moved quietly through the house. He packed his belongings, stuffing clothes and personal items into a bag. Then he searched the house for valuables. In a drawer he found a small stash of cash, money, Enatra and her boyfriend had saved for Bill. He pocketed it, his hands shaking from alcohol and adrenaline. Next, he went to the garage, where he knew Enatra's boyfriend kept a .22 caliber rifle for hunting. His intention was clear: to silence Enatra permanently. He loaded the rifle and crept into her bedroom. Enatra was fast asleep, unaware of the danger. Standing close to her bed, Roberts aimed the rifle at her head. He fired 3 times, each shot deliberate, meant to ensure she wouldn't survive. The act was cold and calculated, driven by his desire to eliminate any chance of being caught. To cover his crime, Roberts needed to destroy evidence. He found a can of gasoline in the garage, likely used for a lawnmower. His plan was to burn the house down, hoping the fire would hide the murder and make it look like an accident. He poured gasoline over Enatra's body and splashed it across the living room, furniture, couches, curtains, and rugs. Standing at the doorway,
He lit a match and tossed it onto the gasoline-soaked floor. Flames erupted quickly, spreading through the room. As he fled into the night, Roberts left the house around 1 a.m., carrying his bag and the stolen cash. The fire roared behind him, consuming the home and much of the evidence. He walked to a nearby gas station, where he hitched a ride with a stranger to a neighboring town. His intention was to disappear, using the stolen money to start over somewhere far away. Over the next 2 days, he stayed low, moving between cheap motels and paying cash to avoid leaving a trail. He ditched his phone, fearing it could be tracked, and avoided contact with anyone who might recognize him. Meanwhile, Inatra's boyfriend returned home around 2 a.m. to find the house engulfed in flames. He called 911, but the fire had spread too far for firefighters to save money. They found Inatra's body in the ruins, later identified through dental records, because of the fire's damage. The community was heartbroken, mourning the loss of a woman known for her compassion and the police launched an investigation, suspecting arson due to the gasoline smell and the fire's intensity. The investigation moved quickly. Fire investigators confirmed the use of an accelerant like gasoline, ruling the fire intentional. Detectives interviewed Inatra's boyfriend, who mentioned Roberts had been staying with them and was unaccounted for after the fire. This made Roberts a person of interest. Police found a neighbor who saw someone matching Roberts' description, leaving the house just before the fire started. They issued an alert for him, sharing his photo with local news and law enforcement in nearby towns. 2 days after the crime, a motel clerk in a town 50 miles away recognized Roberts from a news report. He had checked in under a false name, but matched the description perfectly. The clerk called the police, who arrived at the motel on the morning of the 3rd day. They found Roberts in his room, still carrying the bag with the stolen cash and some of Inatra's boyfriend's belongings. When questioned, Roberts initially denied everything, but the evidence was mounting. His fingerprints were later matched to the gasoline can recovered from the fire scene, and gunshot residue was found on a jacket he hadn't discarded. Roberts was arrested and charged with murder, arson and theft. The community, still reeling from Inatra's death, came together to honor her memory, holding a vigil at the soup kitchen, where she volunteered. Her loss left a deep scar, but her kindness lived on in the hearts of those she touched. The trial in 1993 was swift. Prosecutors highlighted the premeditated nature of the murder and the attempt to destroy evidence, leading to a conviction for capital murder. Roberts was sentenced to death in 1994, with appeals focusing on his mental health and alleged schizophrenia diagnosis, though courts consistently upheld his sentence. Roberts' appeals process spanned 3 decades,